Dr. Sabine Grund, thank you very much for coming to the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy and delivering your presentation on the UN Mapping Report. It was more than informative, it was enlightening, and it was very well presented. Thank you.
I thank you very much for the opportunity to bring this topic here, because it's really hard to find people who get any interest in what's happening, in so much horror in the Congo, and everybody seems to be looking away. And looking away is just not an option. I've always learned this, and I think pretty much everybody learns this. On public holidays with big speeches, people say, never look away when crimes happen. Even crimes in your neighborhood, you're supposed not to look away. But crimes on that scale, it's just inconceivable.
I'm going to ask you 4 questions, just 4 main questions. First one is your attempts to bring attention to the violations of human rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo seem to have fallen on deaf ears. We are glad, we, the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, are glad to have been able to give you the opportunity and the platform to bring this UN Mapping Report to the attention of more people. How do you think that we, the ICD, can help you further promote the issues of the Democratic Republic of Congo?
I think you have a very valuable network of contacts across countries, even in the city. I think what it takes is a combination of a lot of people drawing attention. If you can do a media campaign, that would be great. But even if you don't get to the media, you already have contacts to get to people. My ideal situation would be that the Congolese would speak for themselves. I don't really like to speak for other people because that always has a strange notion to it. But at the same time, the Congolese have been deprived of so much that I think with all the outsiders taking advantage of the country, we need also outsiders to be aware. So my idea is to find people outside in our Western countries to connect and to say, this has been way too much, and we can't be silent. There is a very positive initiative in Washington with the Friends of the Congo that we've seen in the film just now. And I've been in brief touch with them by email, and I would hope that we together can improve this contact and talk to each other what we can do.
I hope so too. My second question. The current situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo is dire. It is absolutely terrible. We use cobalt in Europe every day by using our mobile phones, maybe wittingly or unwittingly. We use other minerals that come out of the Congo, that have been raped out of the Congo daily, without a second thought of their origin. Please tell us how the international community and what African states can do to help the Democratic Republic of Congo.
I think there's a list of several things that could be done. Let me start on the international level. I think a campaign, be it even by Facebook or Twitter or something, to make people aware you are using a computer, you're using a car, a phone, anything, you are part of the Congo's problems. Raise your voice to demand that the business done on the resources of the Congo is done honestly. The United States has done a big step with the so-called Dodd-Frank Act, which has started to go into effect. There's obviously improvements to be made, but it's a start. Recently, I talked to a politician in Germany. He said, we have no equivalent. It would be great if across Europe and the United States, the parliamentarians could come together and say, we together need rules for our industry, how we get our resources. We've heard of certified carpets. We've heard of certified tea traded or coffee, fair trade things. We need this for everything that we trade. When the first people talked about environmental protection, everybody laughed, like turn off the heat or open the window and turn off the heat, combine this sensibly, turn off the light you don't need. And after a few decades of environmental concern raising, people are aware. I think we need this for other resources, for all our resources, because we know these resources are expensive and they're finite. And a lot of generations after us will want to use these resources. So we need recycling initiatives, and we need initiatives that say these resources are fair, they are harvested in a proper way and reused. And this is sensible for anyone. It just takes a campaign somewhere, maybe in social media, to create awareness and maybe get people's signatures. I vote for a law, transatlantic, across Europe, America. And I don't think the Chinese will say no if you ask them on that. I mean, I would dare to do that. So it's like people usually come together on common sense ideas.
Yes.
And for the African governments, let me think. I mean, there's African countries also exploiting resources in other African countries. I think this should be an issue for the African Union. Mm-hmm. And maybe there is by now enough Africans in South Africa, in Nigeria, in other African countries who could raise their voice from within. I think people would be proud to have this. There is an increasing pride in Africans that live in more developed parts of their societies. Mm-hmm. And I think you find people there. If the movement starts, they will also be part of that.
Well, I hope so. Third question. In April, the ICG hosted an evening event on Rwanda. This is where I first met you. And this was to commemorate the halt of the Rwandan genocide, the 100 days of the Rwandan genocide. You indeed have written several articles about Rwanda that have been published. And in order to come to a place where the Democratic Republic of Congo can actually have a platform to progress, do you think that the Kinshasa courts or something similar, or the Truth and Reconciliation Commission could help? Do you believe that that would have a positive effect in the Democratic Republic of Congo?
I think such traditional courts do have disadvantages from our European point of view, but I think it's in the end for the local people to judge. If it's a fair system where the established elders really take everybody's point of view, talk to people, mediate, this is working across the world on a small level. To expect it to work in a huge crisis like the Congo presently experiences would have to be decided locally. There is a suggestion also in the mapping report to have outside legal experts help mediate in these places. This might be a good idea if everybody agrees that they want this particular person, if the people are not imposed on them, but they could say, we want this person, we don't trust that person. If there is a good process to find mediation, maybe it would be a good idea. But the Congo probably needs a lot of different instruments across the country, and it needs a lot of community involvement. I think that's where the help comes from. And I'm sure there's also a lot of human rights experts in the Congo, all these people who have advised the mapping team. Mm-hmm. If they become active again, if the church plays its role that it usually used to play in the Congo, I think there could be a process. But that expects that there is peace for people to walk across the country and to put people together without being bombed from somebody.
Okay, thank you. My final question, and this is a very similar question that I posed to Florian Mwembwa, is do you think that cultural diplomacy can be a successful tool in the fight for human rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo? And how can we help you in this act? And additionally, what measures should be taken in order to ensure that the respect for human rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo is upheld?
I think, as Flori has just told you also, the institutional question is very important. If you can forward advice to them locally by email, for instance, how to build institutions. If there is good knowledge collected somewhere on building institutions from scratch, maybe visitors, encouraging visitors would help too. On the other hand, with this question, I'm first thinking about our situation in the West. And I think a campaign here should be to stop development aid to anybody committing human rights atrocities, to hold perpetrators accountable, high-level perpetrators. We don't get to the locals, that's a different level. But the high-level perpetrators, to hold them accountable, to not invite them to any international gatherings, to shun people who are part of atrocities in other countries, from a European perspective and maybe also from an African heads of state perspective, would be a step in a cultural level, a step forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Sabine Grund, I thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you.
And I look forward to having another afternoon with you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.